Hey there.
How are you? You're in pitch black.
I am now here.
Okay.
Traffic at the end of the day downtown is a little crazy.
Yeah. Okay. I see you now. Okay. Awesome. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Good. Yeah. It's perfect. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I heard you moved. You came to Miami.
You know what? That's a bizarre story in my life. I was just like, I love Boston. Honestly, I was in love with the city. Intellectually speaking, challenging, everything. People nice, incredible. But I have this routine that I've implemented in my life for about 7 years. In Canada, I was going out and see the sunrise, cold or not cold. And most of the time I was doing meditation and cold exposure at the same time. So I like the cold, but I was in Boston and 5:45, go out of my building, and I had a very nice place there. Out of the building, and this freaking wind starts to blow from the ocean. Humidity pushed me. Everything goes through the balls, and I think I'm not used to that cold. I was just like, holy smoke, what the is this? I kept going, and not even 100 yards, came back and I said, enough, I'm done. I called the CEO of the company that acquired mine, and I was like, I'm sorry, buddy, but I'm leaving. I'm going to Boston. He goes like, what? You're throwing the towel out? And I go like, no, I'm not. I'm going to work from Miami. My brain needs to perform. If you want my brain to perform, I need to be in the right place. And that's it. So I'm in Miami. I love it.
Well, until Miami is underwater, I think it's a great place to be.
I love water. Cold water, hot water, whatever.
So good. All right. Well, I'm really glad. I heard you had a great talk with Liam.
Yeah, I like that guy. Yeah, he's. I didn't know he was that young, but he's brilliant.
It's a great thing to have somebody that young that I can interact with and be.
Yeah. I agree. This generation is so surprising. Yeah, they're fast, they're quick. He was asking me, why did it take you that long to make those mistakes and things like that? And I was just like, what the fuck? You're 25. When I was 25, I was not even thinking on it. I would have gone like, oh man, wow, lucky you are.
He was a very, did he tell you about his badminton career?
Oh, no, tell me.
He was an internationally ranked badminton. So he was like in the world class, but his coach said, you'll have to devote like everything to go to the next level. And he was like, badminton?
Not sexy.
That doesn't get everything. It gets a lot, but it can't have everything. Sorry, I'm out of here. Yeah. And he went to business school, but he has, that level of
discipline and structure. That's what, okay, now it makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. Like he was asking me about what's the path of being successful if ever. And I go like, it's all about resilience, nothing else, like resilience and respect of whatever you do and others. And now I understand the resilience. He knows that already. Yeah. Hey, cool. That's cool. Right. Yeah, that's very cool. Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to have you on video today because in this video, you're going to talk. You are going to talk a lot. I want to get fraction and extract of one where you talk about Neuronic, what brought you there, what is this technology, the application, the extent, and the future. So I can use those in shorts and make 1, 2, 10, 100 crazy videos where I can mix the talk and special effects. And I have a shortage where I'm using the everything. So my team will do the montage of the videos, but that's it, the magic. Yeah.
Okay.
So whenever you want to start,
So
we start.
are you going to give me like Einstein hair?
Yeah. Like the light, instead of going that way, will go that way.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask for editorial control.
Thank you. I would not give it to you.
Do I get a review before release?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. All right. Good.
But trust me, it's going to be great. And as I said, that you guys can use this material Asper for anything you do. Like if you pitches to venture capitalists and things like that.
It's okay.
It's all yours. It's my pleasure. I love you guys. I love the product. I love everything you do. I think it's like I was telling you, you deserve to be known. Points.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's go.
Is this a good enough background?
Yeah, I like it. It's you.
We got this. I got that out of the trash.
Are you kidding me?
And I took it to it's pastel.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
But I took it to the shop and they fixed it up and then they put it in the frame. And it looked it was beautiful.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
I love it. Okay. I'm a fanatic of arts, as you can see.
Oh no, it's wonderful. I like your poster.
Yeah. They are more than posters. I love it. This one can be on a video. I love it.
You're gonna put it on? Okay. So I don't know whether you're gonna put this on, but where I come from, the way that men got to know each other in northern New Jersey and in New York, the idea of bonding included, it was basically framed inside of something called busting balls.
Oh, I've heard that expression. Yeah, makes sense.
Right. Me referring to your art as a poster.
That's cool.
That's
so cool. Yeah, that's so cool. I love it.
All right. So what do you want to know?
We're going to talk about the whip that you made.
All right. So
okay, let's start, Marvin. Let's be serious for a moment. Okay, I think that we're going to start with this. You're a doctor, PhD. Why did you devote a big part of your life to this product and its research and its the application they are coming from?
When I first got involved in psychology, it was from a question about what was the relationship between the mind and the body. And it was a philosophical question, but then it became even more of a question about how would someone who was going to be involved with helping other people psychologically and emotionally, how would someone conceptualize the idea of mental health without also considering the body?
Yeah.
So that took me back to Descartes and his premise about I think, therefore I am. And that's when I started realizing that was where the separation happened between psyche and soma.
So there is a separation between the mind and the body.
And that was his philosophical premise.
Mm-hmm.
But there were lots of other philosophies around that didn't involve that. And one of the things I became curious about was, why did that philosophical perspective become the dominant intellectual philosophical premise in Western civilization and remain so for 500 years? That's when I remembered Watergate, and the Watergate conspiracy involved the reporters interacting with the person called Deep Throat, who was insider.
Yeah.
So you remember what Deep Throat told Woodward and Bernstein about how to solve the question of what was really going on? What he said to them? He said, "Follow the money."
True. Yeah.
Follow the money. So that's what they did. They followed the burglary money and they followed the payoffs and the hush money, and they followed it all the way back to the Republican National Committee. So then I thought, wait a minute, where does an academic philosopher get the money to publish his thesis all over Western Europe?
Mm-hmm.
Who paid for that, right? Because it wasn't him.
Legislation. Yeah.
Right. He didn't have that. So that's when I found out the person who published his philosophical treatise was Bishop Berkeley, the Bishop of Paris. And
Learning.
right? And it was like, oh, because the philosophy was, the basic idea was God has dominion over man. Man has dominion over nature.
Yeah.
But in the 18th century, who was the intercessionary between God and man? The church.
But still in
the Pope.
Certain places. Yeah. Yeah.
So then it became clear that Berkeley saw that Descartes' idea reinforced the church's control and dominion over the population, over people, that it reinforced the centrality of the church. So I started looking at, well, wait a minute, what would be, how would we understand this idea of the separation of mind and body as having any kind of benefit? And then I saw it had propaganda value.
Yeah.
But that really it wasn't real. It was propaganda.
It was propaganda, or it was the true belief that was the base of their propaganda? There was some belief. Oh yeah, Descartes' whole idea went way beyond that, and included the spirit. But that's not the part that they really Yes. No.
So it just meant that I could focus on, wait a minute, we really need to get mind and body together. So that was really the thing that I was doing all along in my training.
So let me just ask one quick question that comes to my mind. When you said, I need to have mind and body together, you mean there's certain people say that it's separated, but you mean making one soul concept? Or having them aligned?
Having them aligned, understanding that one is an expression of the other.
Mm-hmm. And vice versa. Yeah.
And that how we are physically is an expression of how we are mentally. Yeah. But how we are treated and how we are treated physically, both in terms of how we're treated by our parents, but how we're treated by the environment, by the world, by our whole experience, is going to affect us mentally. That it's really a two-way street.
Yeah, and we're getting to the third component of nature then.
And so we need to have ways of understanding how the mind influences the body and how the body influences the mind, and that we're much better off thinking about a more holistic, integrated, way of thinking about what we're doing and how we are. So that was the
pattern to get you there. Okay.
And so then when I started reading about Freud, right, and realizing that Freud was a neurologist.
Mm-hmm.
He was trained in neurology.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, don't forget that, because that meant you had to really study the brain, and that he wasn't making a distinction between the brain and the mind.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't. It's just that the tools that he had to understand the mind basically were psychoanalysis.
Right.
And so that's what he was using. But he always said that at some point we won't need psychoanalysis, because we'll have a way of understanding the brain physiologically, biochemically, neurologically. We'll understand how the brain really works. And then you won't have to lie on a couch and talk about your mother.
Yeah. And we're getting there slowly but surely. And that's the point with neuroscientists, I guess. Yep.
And the whole idea of neuroscience was then the marriage of those two ways of thinking.
Yeah.
So I was really interested in that, and then realized that Freud, while being making a huge radical change in the way people were thinking in terms of the unconscious, then one of his colleagues, Wilhelm Reich, went even further, right? And he took a voltmeter, right?
Yeah, it's true. I've read that.
He put the voltmeter on the patients who were experiencing paralysis, hysteria, and he measured the voltage. Then he had the patients lie down and go through free association and psychoanalysis. And then they remembered the trauma,
mm-hmm.
and they had a catharsis, and, they felt the feelings of the trauma that made them freeze up. And then he put the voltmeter on the same place and the voltage went up. And that was it.
Yeah.
And it was, and that when I read about what he was, the point that he was making, it was like, right, it's electrical,
Signal. Yeah. Aren't electrical. Yeah.
Right. So on that level, there has to be a way of understanding the experience and the process of human experience and expression by understanding the electrical activity in the body and particularly in the brain. So that's why when I saw what neurofeedback could do,
could help. Yeah.
was like, oh, there it is.
We have a tool. Yeah.
So that made it very clear that on the one hand, you could analyze the psychological history of someone and their personality development by looking at their body, right? You could do that. And I learned, that's how I trained as a psychotherapist, was to understand how the body expressed the early developmental experiences that people had and the traumas that they experienced. But then the question was, how does that trauma history, how do those experiences translate into the brain, which is not a muscle?
Yeah, and it's not fixed. It's changing shape and connection every day. Wow, neuroplasticity may be new in the concept, but yeah.
But in reality, that's what's been going on all along.
Correct. Yeah.
So I started looking at how do people with different kinds of emotional struggles, what some people might call diagnoses, like anxiety or depression, what could I see in their brain activity that would be consistent for people who are experiencing those kind of issues?
Making a model or a pattern of response. Yeah.
A marker.
Yeah.
What would a marker be? And it turned out that there were certain kinds of markers that we could look at as being typical or expressions of the challenges that people were experiencing. So then the therapy, the intervention would be to modify those particular markers.
And reverse them
and it worked. Well, it is working.
Yeah. Well, there's publication that shows that it works. Yeah.
So that's it. So it went from the body-mind problem and
the
now
electrical analysis to light.
And the light essentially was when I saw that you could pulse light on the scalp and it would entrain the EEG to imitate the pulse frequency.
Yeah, which is kind of surprising for the eyes of the average Joe, I would say, or the normal people. Like, if you take the example of a light source and you try to go through something, you have the perception or the impression that nothing goes through, it's stopped. But it's more recently that we've seen that the infrared is capable of going all the way through, even bones and everything. And some other sources will stop on the bones and others. So, but that was a new concept that was explored and pretty intelligent and brilliant to think that, okay, you have this random box there, but you have to go through to pinpoint where the markers are and make a modification there. Yeah.
So because we all knew that the way that our brain was processing visual information was coming in through the eye, and it was the light. So, and we all knew that, if you took a flashlight, put it on your finger, you could see.
See, exactly. That was an experience you do when you're a kid. Like, oh, look, with the blood vessels. Yeah.
So with that understanding, you can then proceed to analyze and analyze how much light pulsed at what rate will influence the brain to do what. And that's the research question that I'm now, that's what's going to keep me up at night.
Oh, well, it's my passion. So it's good.
For the next while is how does all this fit together? Because where we want to end up with the Neuradian,
oh my God, yeah. That's a different version than the one I have, no?
Oh, maybe. This is the new one. Well, there's it looks darker,
maybe just the light, yeah, okay.
So and so what we're going to end up doing is putting the QEEG electrodes inside the helmet.
Wow. So
I can put on the helmet and the EEG, the brain electrical activity, will automatically get recorded in real time at 19 locations.
So biofeedback at the same time as stimulation.
And what will happen is, this is the hat, the electrode.
Yeah.
So the electrodes will go inside the helmet.
Okay.
Okay.
Marvin, explain me, why 19? I do know, but I want you to explain that to the public. Why 19?
Yeah, the 19 electrodes are because the databases that have been created so far are 19 channels. So the databases that we can now make comparisons to, broken out by age, gender, and left and right-handed, we can now make comparisons between someone's individual readings and the norms for their age and gender and handedness, so that we can tell where they're above or below the average for a group of people who were carefully screened before they got scanned. They were carefully screened to not have anything out of outrage going on, that they were just ordinary people. So what'll happen is that the EEG, and there'll be a little clip on your ear that'll measure heart rate variability.
Yeah. Of course.
So we'll get heart rate variability and EEG as two streams of data that can then be combined in an AI algorithm.
I was thinking about AI, that because with the power of AI, this is like beautiful.
So we're working on developing the algorithm that'll integrate those two real-time data streams, and it's the algorithm that then is going to drive the lights.
Okay, I have a stupid question. How do we ensure, or it's for user, at the end of the day, it's going to be on the commercial side of it, and how do we make sure that the helmet is well positioned and the 19 electrodes are at the right place, taking the right signal?
So we're going to have the adjustability to some degree. We're going to have the adjustability of the inside of the helmet fit to the person.
Mm-hmm.
So the net, the net of electrodes will fit where they belong. And there can be a little bit of adjustment, but there won't need to be much adjustment.
Okay.
Because there won't need to be that much of adjustment, because we can fit the helmet to the person's head. So when they put it on, there'll be an adjustment that will fit it to them. And then it'll also optimize the signal, the quality of the signal.
I see.
Because
so you send the signal, you get the answer, and you can tell, okay, you have to maybe turn a bit your headset, put it this way. Got it.
The impedance, the measure of resistance will be measured, and then it has to fit within a certain range.
Right. So sensing the signal and making sure that everything works. That's the answer to the question. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be automated. That'll be automated.
Nice.
And it is, there's plenty of automated signal control and signal quality now with impedance management. They're called active electrodes. So we probably will end up using some kind of active electrode that will monitor and control its own impedance.
Yeah.
So
we use that in science every day, actually, and it's one of the best inventions for that.
So we'll have that, and we've got some really good people at Santa Clara University's memory lab, that the director, that is Julia Scott, and she and I and a couple of other people from Neuronic are working on, and her graduate students and undergraduate students are working on building a model for integrating the EEG and the photobiomodulation. And it's going great. But that's where we'll end up. That this will, we'll have everything built in, and then it'll be the signal will be generated to the cloud and to the laptop or to the phone.
I like that. I like the idea of cloud monitoring and data collection. I think that in the past 10 years, it became very popular to put everything on cloud and to connect data. And I was explaining recently that now it's time to give back what we collect from the public. And we collect so much data, and people are just like, we're collecting all the information like minute by minute, second by second, temperature, whatever. But what do you do with that? This is the principle.
Right.
Like what you do. And when you do it, please, the people that participated in that collection has to be rewarded in a way with an improved life. So this is what you do. I love it.
Yep. And I mean, I think it's really important. Can we pause for a minute?
Sure.
I need to send, I just need to send somebody a text.
Yeah, bro. And now I'm launching you some things, knowing that you're texting with one finger only.
Is that busting balls?
I guess so. I couldn't resist that one. Yeah, I know that.
You're allowed.
You know, sometimes when you're in public, you don't want to show people that you're older than them. So, text me your number, and you go like, I'm gonna try to speaker. Just I don't want to be like outdated.
Text me your number, right? Yeah. Well, right.
Anyway, so data connection, cloud monitoring, feedback, biofeedback. Now, in terms of the technology itself, you're using, I've seen and I've read an article where you were talking, I think, or you did a speech and you were talking about light stimulation. Is infrared considered as just light stimulation, or yeah,
it is because it's on the spectrum, it's on the electromagnetic spectrum, but it's the wavelengths of light that we can't see with our eyes, but we can see it with the phone.
Yeah, tell me about it. How you can see that with the phone?
If you take your helmet and turn it on, and then you point your camera into the helmet, you'll see tiny, those little red lights on the other side? Yeah. Block those out. Okay. And then look at the little lights inside, and you'll see tiny purple dots.
Oh, I'll do that. I'll take a video of that we can use.
It would be very good news. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
And that's how we tell people, because people are always calling me and going, I think it's broken. I can't see the lights. What did I buy? I thought this is a piece of junk. And I'm like, no, wait. What do you mean you can't? Can you see the little red lights on the side? Yeah, but that's all I can see. Where's the rest of the light?
Yeah.
Hold on. So let me just explain something to you. If you called me and told me that you could see all the lights in the helmet, I'd have to put you on hold and call the Pentagon, because it means that I caught an alien. So are you sure you can't see all the lights? Because I'd really like to be famous, and this would make me really famous.
Awesome.
So they're like, oh, yeah, no, human beings can't see 1070 light. Sorry. But if you take your camera, the chip inside the camera has a wider pickup. So it'll pick up a wider range than what the eye can pick up.
Okay.
So you
ahead. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna do that. It's gonna be an extract that we're gonna use as well. Would you mind talking about those pulsation pulse of the light?
So the pulsing of the light has, like I was saying before, one purpose of the pulsing is to get the brain to start imitating whatever the pulse frequency is. And you can use that therapeutically, so that if somebody has too much beta, say they have too much 20 to 30 hertz activity, you can start pulsing the light at 15 or 14 or 13, and it'll start causing the brain to start producing more 14, 13, 12, and less of the 20 to 25.
Which is imitation of the pattern. Yeah, okay.
So that can be helpful when you're trying to bring down an excessive amount of activity, which you can very often see in people with anxiety or PTSD.
Yeah.
So you want to decrease the pattern of activity toward the middle, toward the alpha.
Mm-hmm.
You can also go the other way with people with cognitive decline, with Parkinson's, with Alzheimer's, with any kind of dementia, where the amplitude of the slow frequencies has started to increase. You don't want that. So what we would do is then pulse them a little faster and get the brain to start producing more of the faster activity rather than the slow activity. And people would then feel more alert.
Yeah, like the focus or the glow pattern. But how fast does that because the session on the Neuronic are pretty short compared to whatever session I've seen. Yeah, so it's minutes. Yeah.
And it can be only a few minutes, or it can be up to 20 or 30, depending on what we're doing. But we always start with 2 or 3 minutes, and then a 5-minute rest period.
I see.
And then another 2 or 3 minutes, so that inside that rest period, people can notice what the impact of the stimulation was, because what we want to avoid is overstimulation.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned me that when I told you that I was using it on a daily basis. Yeah.
Right. Some people, they use these devices because, it says in the instructions you can use it for 20 minutes a day, every day, or 6 days a week. It's like, well, maybe not. It depends on what's going on, which is why when I started Neuronic, I made sure that the clinical protocols included instructions that said, less made more.
Yeah.
And I made the joke, this is not American capitalism.
I was just like going there, and I was saying like, but it's for America, and America, give them some things like that. They're going to abuse it, overuse it.
And that's what happens. So I right off the bat want people to know that the Goldilocks principle is the one to use. That there really is a just right, and there really is a too much and a too little.
Yeah.
And so that's what and that's why we want to use the normative database. That's why we want the control to be there in real time, so that as the brain starts to change, right, due to the plasticity, that we can maximize the leverage. We can leverage that plasticity.
Yeah. It's a proportional integrative derivative approach, like in mathematics, like you go, and then you are at the level where the oscillation are very tiny, and you're at the perfect spot where more it's not good, less it's not good enough, and you're just there, but the adjustment has to be made. So the biofeedback is going to be a tremendous tool for your users. Yeah,
that's what we're seeing. And I'm glad that we're going to have some, understandable math and some understandable science that people can go, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's going to be my favorite. That's my favorite thing, when people go, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
Those are my favorite 3 words.
That makes sense. And that makes sense that those are your 3 favorite words. Totally sense. You're a scientist.
Because as a scientist, the idea that people are going to say, oh, that's the answer.
No, it's questionable then. Yeah. Well, science is asking question in a way, but if that is the conclusion of a research, it doesn't work. I agree. Yeah.
So where we are now is we can offer people the brain map, use the brain map to program the pulse rate, the intensity, and the duration, and the location in 4 quadrants. In the future, we'll be able to do that with 19 quadrants.
That's small.
And then we'll be able to integrate the EEG into the 19 quadrants, and then everything can work together.
And having the biofeedback available right away, like on an application or something for a computer, it's going to be a tremendous tool.
And people can do the neurofeedback now using a home training unit.
Yeah.
I just happen to have one.
Oh, that makes sense.
So something,
okay.
And you put the electrodes in, 2 on your ears, 1 or 3 on your head. And we have software that people can then use to train their brain activity based on the same QEEG that is programming the helmet.
That's super interesting. Yeah.
They can do both now in a more limited way, right? Because it's more manual rather than...
Yeah. But this is still. I think that when you start knowing the effect and knowing how to use it, it's getting better and better. I've been using it in different phases of the day for different applications, but only once a day. That was your question to come. But like to be on Teams, for example, some days when I have meetings or presentations to do, or like business driven stuff that are like heavy. If I do the session piece, it works better than meditation in my brain.
What do you make of that?
I just get so in deep rest, in peace with myself. And sometimes I even fall asleep and I wake up with the helmet on my head.
Huh. So with meditation, you find yourself in a different place at the other end.
Yeah, with meditation, I'm like some sort in a mindfulness place where, but I'm there. When I'm on using Neuronic and I'm on the peace session,
yeah,
it's very close to this, this time of the day when you go to bed and you're almost falling asleep, or when you wake up, this like you're not sleeping, but you're almost sleeping. You're conscious, but not totally conscious. And I feel that way actually.
So the peace protocol is said to pulse at 10 hertz.
Okay.
So the 10 hertz is associated with kind of the middle of the alpha range. And the alpha training has been extremely helpful for people who are looking to optimize performance.
Oh, okay.
So it's not surprising what you're saying, because optimizing performance means that you want to optimize both being relaxed and being alert.
Yeah, the flow.
And that the peace protocol for you, as somebody who's been working on themselves, that would stimulate you more into the flow state.
Yeah. That one is great. The other one I'm using, of course, Focus. Time to time I use it. I like it because it puts you like right on the right zone to work or things like that.
Yeah.
But the Glow one is very interesting.
Now the Glow has no pulsing.
Okay.
There's no pulsing at all. It's continuous stimulation.
But so you feel great after it.
Well, in the same way that when you go out into the sun, you're getting the continuous stimulation. So instead of it being energizing by virtue of stimulation, it's like you're simply being bathed in the energy.
Okay.
It's just a bath. It's just an energy bath.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Instead of being
Post are excited in a way, like you're in that, and I can relate to that stage definitely.
And it can also be. I mean, that can be the one, or it can be this. It can be very slow, but it's still pulsing.
Yeah, I see. Interesting. So, go ahead.
It just, the idea of the Glow was that it's more superficial in its impact.
Okay.
It doesn't go deep.
I see.
That's why they use it for cosmetic.
Oh.
And hair.
Okay. Oh, yeah. My daughter asked me, "Hey, Dad, are you using that to grow your hair?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but." Okay, I'm going to use it.
Well, and the women really get interested in the idea that the 1070 wavelength stimulates the production of elastin in the skin, and it fills in the wrinkle.
Nice. I need it.
No, you don't.
Well, it's because I'm in Miami now. It's different. I'm in a bath of sun.
Exactly.
I feel so different here, honestly. But one question.
Sure.
So I use the focus mode prior to make a training session to go to the gym. Then I put music on and I'm getting right on flow state. Like it's super fast. And I do my workout in the best efficient way of doing it.
So the focus, it stimulates both hemispheres, right? Because it's a total...
Yeah.
Focus is going to stimulate both hemispheres to work together. When the music happens, the music is also stimulating both hemispheres.
Okay.
So they work together. And that idea of the both hemispheres working together goes back to another theoretical piece about normal neurodevelopment. When we're born, the information coming in our eyes gets processed in the corresponding hemisphere. So there's homolateral processing when you're a baby. When you learn how to get up on your hands and knees and start crawling, right? As soon as you get up on your hands and knees, now you're having to deal with gravity.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of complexity of the data that you have to process just went up by orders of magnitude. So that's when the brain starts to produce more neurons through the corpus callosum. And the crawling movement helps to wire the pattern together to connect the two hemispheres so that you go from homolateral to bilateral. That's really important in terms of our ability to deal with complexity.
Yeah.
And so when you get the focus and you stimulate the right and left hemisphere together with the music, you're stimulating the bilateral processing.
And then I go on handstand, and it's even better. Honestly, if I start by an handstand, it's just like it's a boom. Yeah.
Well, there's all the blood flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the vagus, right?
Yeah. I think that, it may be a great application for neuronic in the future to look at. It's for peak performance in sports.
Yes.
Because it's no drive, it's no side effects, and it's just like you increase your potential so much.
And I think it really would be a fantastic addition to somebody's workout. So if they're working out from the neck down, to then add the workout
to the brain,
up.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, if you could do both in the gym.
Yeah. Well, multitasking is not always the best thing to do, but I think that is, just to jump on, the sport I do requires your brain to be so focused all the time, because every single move is like complex. It doesn't use, like, if you're lifting weight, you're lifting weight. It's one movement, repeat and do it.
Right.
But on the sport I do, it's like so complex. You have like a sequence of multiple tasks to be really coordinated and to be coded in your brain to make sure that you don't fail or you don't fail. And I found out that Neuronic helped me to improve that.
Yeah. What were you using? Were you using the focus before you did it?
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah.
Because if you are already physically trained, if you already have the muscle memory, and you can then totally relax into trusting the muscle memory, right? And fully engaging with that level of instantaneous processing, it's like you don't really have to think about what you're going to do.
Correct.
The more you can enhance that capability with the focus program, it makes complete sense. The people who do skiing and shooting, they learned the guy who won the gold medal in the Winter Olympics, he was using neurofeedback.
Of course. Yeah.
And he totally attributed it. And the Italian soccer team that won the World Cup way back when the Italians won the World Cup, the team had been using neurofeedback and neurostimulation. They were watching specially edited tapes of each player,
learning by wow.
And the tape was showing them making one mistake after another.
Brilliant.
Right? And so they were being monitored while they were watching themselves making mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake in the game. And so they were learning how to manage their upset at seeing the mistake.
Nice.
So when they interviewed them after they won, they said, "Well, what do you think really contributed?" And they said, "Oh, the movie and the biofeedback." because when we were in the game and we were in that similar situation, we didn't worry. We didn't have a moment of worry.
Yeah, hesitation. Yeah, that's what makes you fail. You're right. When it's like, and this is the principle of flow. When you're in the flow, it's so easy. It's difficult, but it's easy. But you do it and you don't think about it. But it goes.
Right.
I love it. I was using it for my workout, and sometimes I was even using it because I knew that during that workout I had to learn a new pattern of movements. And I could dedicate the time and energy to make that new move a success. And it was faster than trying to learn by repetition, session after session. Like, Normally it takes you, for example, 1 month to decode one movement. Using the Neuronic, I was just like passing that in like a week, 10 days. And I challenged somebody that goes like, how long it's going to take you to do that? Like, give me 10 days. Yeah. So you run faster.
That's right. Well, it's the principle that I've been trying to convey to the other clinicians that we're training how to do this, and to the people that we're working with, is the principle of efficiency. That what this is really doing is making everything about how you function more efficient.
Yeah. And in our nowadays society, that is king. Yeah,
it is.
No one has time, and like efficiency in doing stuff is what we're lacking, and we're trying to optimize. And it leads to freedom at the end of the day, because efficiency, the more efficient you are, the more freedom you're going to have to do other things. Love it.
Or do nothing.
Or do nothing. Well, which is doing some things in a reality. Doing nothing is good. It's actually good for the brain.
Yeah, that's being able to encourage people to rest has become more and more of a challenge over the year. Like, rest, I don't have time to rest.
I don't have time. Yeah, I sleep 3 hours a day, and I'm proud of it. Yeah. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I don't. That's not my idea. How you get where you want to go.
I was like that. I was.
You were? Really?
Yeah. I was insomnia for 25 years. Yeah, completely. Yeah, and I was like never sleeping, going out, sometimes not sleeping 3 days in a row. That changed so much now. Like, I sleep well, I rest. Like, even in sport, I was doing like 7-day sports. Now it's like 2 days, 1 day rest, 2 days, 1 day rest. And then I think about it. I'm going to do a session of psychoanalysis now. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting older because I'm resting. See? I know.
Okay. All right. Well, look.
Nothing too much.
It's the culture. It's what we've been taught from.
True. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's true. We have to change that. The Neuronic will change the world.
That's what we're doing.
Absolutely. And you do it well. Now it's a question of making people aware about that, because it is truly something hot.
Well, I'm glad to have somebody like you tuning in and understanding what we're trying to do. Can I share my screen first?
Sure. With pleasure.
I just want to show you one of the pictures that one of the clinicians did. This is somebody who had who still has fairly significant Parkinson's, and the red on the right is the picture, the brain map that was done about 3 months ago, and the one on the left is from 8 days ago. So the person has been doing this for about 3 months, and the level of overactivity or abnormal activity is what you see in the red, because anything that's red is at least 2 standard deviations or 3 standard deviations above the mean.
Okay.
So what we're seeing is that only on the left, the places that are orange, right, or bordering on red are just those areas, but all the other areas that don't have any color, those are normal.
Wow.
So what we've noticed is that this woman who's been having memory challenges and sleep challenges for many, many years is now sleeping better and having much better conversations with her husband, and better conversation and remembering things better when she meets with her other members of her family. And I was like, well, go get another scan. And she went to this other clinician in Indiana, and I just got this in the email the other day.
That's impressive, and it's not like a placebo effect or whatsoever. It is there. It's proven. It's like,
right.
What else can you say? Like, yeah, it's clear.
Right. So that sort of data always, makes me feel good, because then it's like, I don't care whether you agree with my opinion.
Yeah.
This isn't about my opinion, right? We're not selling a religion here.
Yeah, exactly. You're not trying to have people to adhere to your community or like preaching for what you're doing. You're just
Right.
like, you know,
Here it is.
facts.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not my opinion. This is somebody, measuring the electrical activity coming out of your brain
Right.
and comparing it to a normative database. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And I love it because, today there is so many fake interpretation, even publication that are like biased and not real. But those are facts. You show that. You don't even have to talk. Well, you have to explain what is activity, how you show activity and not. But talks by itself. You don't have to have a PhD to understand that.
No. And that's the good part about the brain mapping. It's like, oh, this is,
Beautiful.
you either have, if you have too much activity over here, you end up having problems with anxiety. And if you reduce those activity patterns, then you don't feel as anxious.
Yeah. Some people have been trying to make measurement on neurochemicals and see if there are some patterns that goes along with that. But combining, I think that the brain activity, the brain mapping is way stronger and way more obvious. And not influenced by anything else. But if you combine both with artificial intelligence calculation, that could be a great tool.
And I think that we're working, at the Quiet Mind Foundation is working with people who are functional medicine doctors. And we have a director of functional medicine. And so we'll look for the root cause of the problem in terms of toxicity, heavy metals, mold, sensitivity, those things have to be considered and they have to be dealt with. So once those are dealt with, then we can start to see what other kinds of issues someone has as a result of having had the toxicity. Now you can add the photobiomodulation, the light therapy increases the brain's capacity to change, the capacity to heal, because you're increasing the ATP.
Yeah.
And the brain is always using all of the available ATP all the time.
Yeah.
So if you want to do something extra to help promote healing, you have to increase the ATP. That's it.
Yeah. Many biohackers have been trying to say that you need to increase the number of mitochondria that you have, and they're coming with all sorts of tricks and supplements to increase mitochondria.
Absolutely. And there's plenty of data that photobiomodulation increases neurogenesis and synaptogenesis.
Which is important, yeah.
So that becomes a really important thing because some research that's coming out now from China and South America is that there may be differences in how the neurons are being supported by different wavelengths. So the 800 or the 810 may be more beneficial in terms of cell viability. That's important.
Yes.
And the 1070 seems to be maybe more beneficial in terms of synaptogenesis and neurogenesis.
And one goes with the other. Yeah.
And so where we're probably going to end up is starting to think about how do we integrate 800 and 1070 and what other wavelengths are there that, we don't know.
Yeah.
So
That's very cool.
That's going to be the next.
Very cool. Longevity is utmost power. Yeah, love it, Marvin. Yeah, as always, it's a pleasure talking to you. Like I could sit with a glass of wine and spend the rest of the night just talking about these things. But next time, I prefer to be in front of you and have this wine and chat that way. I could be.
Okay.
Thank you, Marvin. Take care.
Bye.
I'll send you all the information I have and shorts and things like that. Okay.
Wiedersehen. Bye-bye.
Ciao.